Welcome back to the Through Lane Podcast. It's been a long time since I've recorded one of these. I don't know how consistent I will be with this, just with how busy I am. And I've got some other things going on, some exciting things happening. So, I'm going to try to do this as much as I can, but it won't be a lot like before. I don't know if it'll be weekly. But we've got a decent bit to talk about here. We've got NFL Super Bowl, NBA trade deadline, NFL coaches hired, and then what's going on with Miami and Darian Mensah and the transfer portal there. Let's just start off with what most recently happened, and it's the NFL Super Bowl. And that was probably one of the worst Super Bowls I've watched in a fat minute. I mean, I think the Chiefs versus Eagles was probably better than that. Just because it was competitive. I mean, this game, the line's 29-13. All 13 points came in the fourth quarter. It wasn't really a competitive game. I mean, the Patriots did have 18 first downs. All of that came in the second half. All really in the fourth quarter. They had 331 yards. Again, all in the fourth quarter. They pretty much could not move the ball at all. Kenneth Walker for Seattle, I'm looking at the stats right now. Heck, 27 carries, 135 yards, 5 yards a carry. I mean, played his butt off. I don't think Seattle can sustain. I mean, they were able to kind of just tempo and pace the game with him, right? They really slowed the game down a lot with him in the game. They couldn't really throw the ball. Cooper Kupp did at 61 yards, and that's really, really good to see with, him getting cut last year and it kind of being like maybe his career's over. Maybe he's just like a veteran that you can keep around. And he kind of just came back and played well. But JSN and Rashid Shaheed, they were like, we're not letting them beat us. I mean, JSN had 27 yards. Rashid Shaheed had 27. A.J. Barner had 54. It was kind of just a dink and dunk game. But Seattle's defensive line, and I want to speak about this because like last year I said this, I think defensive line is probably the most important position of all. I believe that still to this day, the defensive line is the most important position in football. Second is quarterback and is close. I just think what a good defensive line. We saw what Seattle was doing. If you can get home with 4, it's game over, right? Because then I can step back. The secondary, I don't care how good your quarterback is. If I'm able to get home with 4 defensive linemen, you're cooked. You're cooked because I can then sit back 7, and there's nothing you can do because I'm able to double team some people in zones, cover the middle of the field, have 2 high safeties, man to man, and have help for them. And you have nothing really you can do. I mean, and looking at this, they had 7 sacks. I think it was technically 8, but they didn't count one of them. Derek Hall had 2 sacks. Byron Murphy had 2 sacks. Great pick. Byron Murphy. I saw something since like 2021. They hit on every first-round pick. They hit on most of their second-round picks, and they hit on 2 or 3 thirds, a 4th, and a 5th-round pick. That's what, as like someone that wants to go in the field, that's what you want to do, right? Hit on every first, hit on most of your seconds, hit on a 3rd, hit on a 4th, and hit on a 5th, and you've built a roster. And Sam Darnold, I mean, we'll talk about some other people. Sam Darnold, I mean, what a career. The Jets gave up on him. I bet they're kicking themselves right now for it. The Panthers gave up on him. The 49ers didn't want him because they're Brock Purdy. The Vikings did not want him, and I think they're really regretting that now. That's why they fired their GM, was because he did not want Sam Darnold, and everybody else in the organization did. He ultimately has the control to do that, and it's backfired, right? Because J.J. McCarthy looked awful. So he had every reason to just give up, really, and just be like, I'm done. But he kept. It's kind of like the Mac Jones. I can kind of see Mac Jones being a lesser version of it because I think Mac Jones doesn't have that ceiling that Sam Darnold does. But Sam Darnold, I think, is a very good game manager, and at times can be a game changer. And what he did Sunday was he just managed the game. Did not turn the ball over. 50% completion percentage, 202 passing yards, and a passing touchdown. Really didn't do anything that was like really harmful. He realized early on, and this became evident, that being aggressive throwing the ball is just not going to work. Right, we're going to have turnovers. So he's dinking and dunking. He's taking safe routes, just getting first downs, keeping the ball moving. And really, for most of this, for the first half, the ball nobody was moving the ball. The only reason why the Seahawks were up 9-0 was because when they were on offense, they were getting a first down or 2, and then they were punting. The Patriots weren't getting anything in punting. They were 3 and outing, 3 and outing, 3 and outing, 3 and outing, 3 and outing. We'll talk about the Patriots' offensive line in a second. So they were able to dink and dunk, and in that second half, I've experienced this, right? Tech had this happen when we played North Dakota, right? The defense is playing lights out, keeping us in the game, and the offense is just floundering for whatever reason, right? Whatever your opinion on that game was. And it's just floundering. The defense can only do so much. Those guys can only produce so much for you, right? Because I think for most of that game, it was close. I mean, let me look it up here. Because it ended up being like 30-something. It's 31-6, right? And that's a rough loss. 21 points. It was 10-6 going into the fourth. Our defense was doing everything they could. They held them to 10 points through 3 quarters. We had only 6, but our offense couldn't do it. And you saw that with the Patriots. Their defense is holding on, fighting. Both defenses are fighting. It was a defensive masterclass. Fighting, playing physical. But the offense wasn't doing anything. It was 3 and outing. So the defense is back on the field. And after a while, the defense is going to break. I've watched it. I watched our defense, which was playing lights out, one of the best defenses in FCS football, just break. Because there's nothing you can do. Like, I don't care how good you are. You could have the best defense in the world. You will break. Right? You will break at some point if you have no help. And they were constantly on the field. And it was this thing of them watching the offense just flounder and just be like, man, we got to get another stop. And they get a stop. And their offense isn't moving it. So there's only so much you could do. And, I mean, this wasn't a great offensive showing by Seattle. This was a great defensive showing by Seattle. Kenneth Walker played his butt off. Played amazingly. But outside of that, the defense, Devon Witherspoon, who everyone was talking about, we may have to trade him, we may have to, cut him, whatever. Him and Tariq Woolen. I think Woolen has been better. And they were talking about maybe we get rid of him, right? Josh Jobe, who was a former Eagle, is starting to come along, right? And Devon Witherspoon plays his absolute butt off. And is amazing, physical. And talking about corners, and we'll switch to the Patriots here. Christian Gonzalez really saved this game from being an even big massacre. Had 2 massive breakups, big tackles. The brother, he announced himself to the world as, hey, I'm a top corner in this game. I'm for real. We made say whatever you want to about that schedule. He's the real deal. And so you see that happen. But outside of that, Travion Henderson had 6 carries, 19 yards. Ramondre Stevenson, 7 carries, 23 yards. Drake May, he has a shoulder injury. And so he's not going to get slack with it, but you could tell it was off. You can just tell he wasn't healthy. And that's very unfortunate for that, because I feel like if he was healthy, and I don't think he's been healthy for a few weeks at this point. I think he got hurt against the Texans. And so, again, it's his throwing shoulder. We've seen it time and time again. Injuries in the throwing shoulder affect the quarterback, no matter how much you want to say it. In Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's still dealing with an oblique injury. He kind of didn't seem full strength. Those 2 quarterbacks are very hurt. The only thing that was the problem was, and I want to talk about this, Will Campbell had a torn ligament in his knee. And before I heard about this, I'm sitting here thinking, listen, we think because of Joe Alt, and there's a few instant Hall of Famers within the first 3 or 4 years of their career at tackle, that every top tackle taken should be an instant surefire takeoff. We all kind of knew Will Campbell was going to need a year or two to kind of just be a top 5 tackle, right? He's not Joe Alt. Joe Alts don't just grow on trees when you take a tackle in the top 10. Joe Alt, that's why Joe Alt is special. That's why we should put more respect on Joe Alt's name. And he goes out there, and yes, he had allowed 12 pressures, and it was 1 sack. And last week he allowed 10 pressures or 8, and no sacks, but 8 pressures. He's a rookie. He's a rookie playing a rookie tackle playing in the Super Bowl. Most teams don't like having rookie tackles. Most Super Bowl teams don't like having rookie tackles, right? This is a common consensus. When teams are built, you try to get a veteran tackle because you don't think you can rely on a rookie tackle in the playoff settings, right? That's unanimous. You look at so many teams. Listen, we watched last year the Chiefs have this problem with their rookie tackle, and he's at guard now, but they couldn't play him. right? So Will Campbell being good enough to be played says something. This kid is a rookie. And again, the left guard, Jared Wilson, he's a rookie, right? I don't think what you may see, I believe that they're going to let Bradbury go. If not, Wilson will stay at guard. But if so, if they let the center go, Wilson will move to center. That's where he played at Georgia. And Wilson, for most of the year, these guys played well. Guess what? They played top defense after top defense after top defense after top defense. They played a top 10 defense in every playoff game. Elite defenses with elite pass rushes. And you're looking at this rookie going, yeah, why aren't you holding up against everybody? I don't think 95% of rookies would. Joe Walt and Andrew Thomas are probably the two rookies in recent years that would have probably held their own. Okay, and those are guys who probably will be. Andrew Thomas, because of injuries, I don't think he'll be a Hall of Famer. But Joe Walt, if he can stay healthy, will be a Hall of Famer. So we're looking at this kid and just being like, why aren't you doing it? He's a rookie. Jared Wilson, why are you failing? He's a rookie. People saying, well, let's get rid of Will Campbell. I don't think so. His mentality, he had an interview the other day, and he's like, sorry, my emotions were high. I take all the blame. I've got to, fix it. The accountability, I recommend watching his interview post-Super Bowl, because he doesn't do one on the Sunday. I think it was today. No, yesterday. And you watch that interview. Listen, Will Campbell's saying all the right things. And you love what he's telling you. He loves what he's saying. I don't think... Now, if next year Will Campbell struggles, you kick him in that guard. The plus with Will Campbell is, and there's a lot of things you don't have with a lot of tackles, is you can kick him in at guard. And I think Will Campbell is a guarantee at guard. If he ever has to move down there, he'll be a good guard. But right now, because of the potential of him at tackle, you play him at tackle. Listen, the Patriots never, I don't think as an organization, expected to be in the Super Bowl immediately. Because you don't want, 9 times out of 10, if you have two starters on the same side, right? Guard and tackle or guard and center. Right? This happens in college football. You don't want big, true freshmen in this situation. But you don't want those guards and tackles because it's just not going to work well. You can only cover so much ground. You can only cover so much ass in that. And they couldn't. It was too much. There was too much of an exposure. I think these guys will be a lot better next year because they played in the Super Bowl. They played against the top defensive ends and pass rushers in this run. So they're now going to know what they can do. I mean, Will Campbell, they was talking about his stance was kind of shorter and everything. If he had a torn ligament in his knee and how, he wasn't able to, move his body further out, that explains why. Because they're breaking it down. Someone else was breaking it down, and it's his stance. It's just he can't get around, and you can got to get around him. You just push him through. He's not building a well-built stance. And if that's because of his knee, we've got to factor that. We can't just run on this kid and be like, oh, he's bad. He had a bad postseason. Brother, he was a rookie. You tell me many rookie offensive linemen that would have held their own, right? Joe Alt is the only guy when limited playing time has held his own, right? Andrew Thomas hasn't played. You tell me a rookie tackle, most tackles in their rookie year are not good. That's why when you see a Joe Alt, everyone's like, holy cow, he's doing good. So then why all of a sudden are we having this standard with Will Campbell? Because he had the great interviews. Because he did so good at college. Okay, but this is the pros. And I think something we forget in pro sports is there's levels to it. And he's got to build his way up. Most people don't just right there, right? Like most people. And when they do, that's when you know instantly you have a special player if healthy. Or if they keep their head on straight. I.e., James Pierce Jr. We're not talking about that. Because that's ridiculous. You are a freaking disgrace to humanity. I wouldn't say that. That's a little far. But you're a joke. Of what he's done. And if you haven't seen it, look it up. But he'll probably never play NFL football again. And he's probably going to spend 5 years in jail. But also looking at this, so Drake May's probably not healthy. We don't know exactly. Will Campbell's not healthy. And again, the left side of the offensive line that was getting bullied all game long. And we don't talk about it either. Morgan Moses, I think, gave up 2 sacks. He's mid to late 30s. He's old. Morgan Moses is old. So again, this is an offensive line. When you look at the construction of this offensive line was never meant to be here. And I think if you ask, I don't know who the GM of the Patriots is, but if you were to ask him behind closed doors, off record, when you built this offensive line coming into the season, did you think y'all were going to be in a Super Bowl? He would tell you no. And if he told you yes, that brother's lying to your face. Because you have Morgan Moses, who is not a Super Bowl right tackle anymore. He's a veteran right tackle that is there to help Will Campbell and teach him the ropes. Okay? You're starting 2 rookies on the offensive line voluntarily, trying to get these kids to go. Like, I think next year the Patriots were expecting it because, like, look at it. Matt Collins led the team in receiving. Demario Douglas was second. Ramondre Stevenson was third. Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry. Like, there's still a lot to be built here. And I just, like, we looked at this Patriots team and be like, oh, they made it. No, they fought hard. They took on the personality of Mike Vrabel and just scrapped through it. And they were so good at scrapping that they just so happened to just wander into the Super Bowl because they fought hard. And they've got some dogs on that team. But here's the thing. They got exposed. They were shown this team was not ready for this, right? Like, the AFC was kind of wide open. Like, you played a Houston team with no offense. I forget who they played in the round before. You play a Broncos team whose quarterback just goes down, and it's in the snow and bad wind, okay? But they fought hard and were able to come out. I'm not discrediting that. But if they faced a healthy Bills team, a healthy Chiefs team, and I hate saying that, I mean, I think they beat the Chargers. Again, the AFC is just not that strong right now. So they were able to kind of just scrap through it. They didn't, like, wow anybody when you're like, man, that team, like, the Patriots, man. No, they it was a dogfight every week. And when you get to this point, you're going to get exposed at the Super Bowl because the NFC was loaded. I think we all knew whoever, like, even one of my coworkers was like, the Patriots are winning. And I was like, brother, whoever comes out of the NFC is winning it because the NFC is so stacked and those teams are so deep and are so talented. I don't care who you come out with in the AFC. The NFC is going to win it. And they did, right? So I think we just pumped the brakes on the hate of Will Campbell, Jared Wilson, Drake May. This team was never supposed to be here. Garrett Bradbury is not that good of a center. He's a veteran center. He's respectable. But again, you love someone. Like David Andrews. I would have rather had David Andrews coming out of retirement, right? And Morgan Moses, there's a lot of other right tackles I would have rather had than Morgan Moses. I don't even know who's at right guard. And then Jared Wilson, you had 2 rookies start on the left side of the offensive line, which is like a big no-no when you get that. Like, that's just like you're looking at that, and teams are targeting them because they're rookies. They don't know how to handle it. This is their first year in the pros, right? They're pros for the first time. Whatever you want to say about college, right? But again, it was a disappointing Super Bowl. But coming from that, we're gonna stem to this now. Clint Kubiak left the Seattle to go to the Raiders. I think the Raiders at this point just need to tear it all down, right? Like, you have Ashton Jeanty, you have Brock Bowers. You got to get a quarterback. Honestly, and I know Raiders people don't like this thought, getting rid of Max Crosby at this point is the best move. Just because you can recoup talent. Like, if I'm the Patriots, Max Crosby, I'm trading for him. But I'm also trying to get a number 1 receiver because, like, I think something that also hurt the Patriots. And again, this is how you knew they weren't, like, this team wasn't built. Stephon Diggs is not that number 1 receiver that he used to be, right? Injuries, and he's older. Kayshon Boutte's a 2. Great 2. Great. You don't have a number 1 receiver. Like, when it was tough, like, you don't have a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, guys like that. I know I'm missing a few, right? But guys where you're just like, we're gonna feed it to him, and it's gonna start to, like, we're gonna live and die by this, and it's either gonna work or it's gonna fail, right? Like, they're gonna take him away. They just didn't have that, right? But so Clint Kubiak is now hired as the Raiders, and I think they need to restart, right? Like quarterback was bad. Quarterback was Geno Smith. I mean, was terrible. He wrote back. He finally wrote back. If you know the quote, they wrote me off, but I didn't write back. No, you wrote back now, brother. Like, you wrote back. But I love the hire. I think great offensive line. You got offensive weapons. Love it. Mike LaFleur is now the Cardinals head coach. I think he went from being I I don't even think he was the OC. I don't know. Mike LaFleur was either the OC or quarterback coordinator, and he's now the head coach at the Cardinals. His brother is, I'm pretty sure it's his brother, the head coach of the Packers. I don't know how I feel about this move. The Cardinals are kind of a bit of a poverty franchise. He was the OC of the Jets with Zach Wilson. That's not good. And again, you're looking at Kyler Murray's got to go. Like I'm out on Kyler Murray. So you've got to figure out where you go from there, right? The running back room's a mess. Offensive line's kind of figuring it out. The defense is still a depth of talent. Like there's just missing talent, especially on the pass rusher side. Again, you have Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, and MSJ. Great receivers. Got to get him the ball somehow. And I don't think Kyler Murray's that guy. Maybe you take a hack at Tua, Malik Willis, somebody. But again, the Cardinals just got to tear it all down. But they've got so many young, exciting pieces in certain spots where you're like, well, do I want to? Like Will Johnson. But it's like, are we? By the time we're ready, are they going to be like? Is the timeline going to match? And that's a problem you're in. So it would have to be a 1 to 2 year rebuild, and then you take back off, right? So that you have the money to spend. It's Michael. I think it's interesting that it's Mike LaFleur. I think of so many people. Cliff Kingsbury comes to mind. Chris Shula, the defense coordinator for the Rams, comes to mind. There's a college coach that I was thinking about. I would have rather had than this, but yeah. Joe Brady, Bills. Then like the Bills, I'm convinced has one of the top 5 worst owners, right, in football. And this is something I did want to talk about. You fire Sean McDermott, and listen, get it, fire Sean McDermott. We can't get over the hump. This is what happens in sports. Everyone's pissed because he wins, but the problem is, and we saw this with James Franklin, you can't win the big game. Sorry, you've got to go, right? Just what it is. Just how it is. Like, it sucks because, like, I really want to go into the pro football like world, and everyone's like, well, you know, I was talking with Jackson about it, how like when you make those moves, and I was talking to a guy at my Bible study last night, like when your butt is on the line for a lot of things, and if it fails, it's on you. And that's just how it is, right? Like that's just in that you sign up for that. That's not something we're like, oh my gosh, right? Sean McDermott had cracks at it, right? Keon Coleman didn't develop. Now I think Brandon Beane should be on the hook for this, and we're going to talk about the Keon Coleman thing. The owner said that was McDermott's doing, this, that, and a third. Kind of really threw Keon Coleman under the bus. And at this point, if I'm Keon Coleman, I don't want to come back. Like, I'm not playing for that man because the hell you mean you just shat on me on national television in front of the whole world? So that happens, and then video surfaces. Brandon Beane advocated for it, so it was actually the opposite. So that happens. Sean McDermott's fired. I think that was a fine. Like, fire him. Like, it's obviously we can't get over the hump. The defense is slowly getting worse. The window, I think, is now either closed or it's like very small. So it's time to kind of just retool. And so I think it was probably a different time. And I mean, they hired Joe Brady. I've been saying it for what 2 years now. Joe Brady needs to be hired ever since he became the OC of the Bills, and the offense was night and day flipped. I was like, I'd love to see this guy as an OC or as a head coach. He's 36 years old, and I think McDermott was more defense, if I had to think. Joe Brady is offense, and I think this is going to be good because now we can see what he can do with Josh Allen, and it's all his control, right? Like, now he's building it. He's giving you the vision. And I was going to be pissed if they didn't hire Joe Brady, high key. And so now he's going to be able to build it. You've got James Cook. You've got Deion Dawkins. You've got a good offensive line. Josh Allen's a hell of a quarterback. You need a number 1 receiver, hands down. Like, if Devontae Adams somehow comes out of L.A., you hand Devontae Adams a blank check and say, sign it. Sign it. Because if you do, by some miracle, decide to keep Keon Coleman, a guy I'd love to have mentor him would be Devontae Adams. Hands down. Do I think they keep Kellen Coleman? No. I think Terry Pegula burnt that bridge. Honestly, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm upping for him to sell the team. Because it was a mockery of pro sports of what he did in there to defend Brandon Beane. He showed favorites. Because most situations, when they've been around this long, you clear house. Just how it is. The GM drafts people. Like, the GM was on board. You can't say the GM wasn't on board with the Keon Coleman pick. He had to be to have made that pick. So it was just a joke. Do I think they can make it? I don't know. Offensively and defensively, they're going to need some changes. The defensive picks in this first round, the Greg Rousseau's, AJ Espinona, they got the D-tackle, Ed Oliver. He's good, but can't stay that healthy. But again, they don't have high-end pass rushers where you're just like, I mean, Gregory Rousseau's nice, but like, in the AFC where I've got just insane quarterbacks, I would like better, right? Like, I just like better. But I love the hire of Joe Brady. Jeff Hafley gets hired as the Miami Dolphins head coach, and I'm looking at this like, oh my Lord, the DC for the Packers. Again, I don't think it's a bad hire. I don't think it's a good hire. I just think it's an all right hire. I think this is a guy that won't be there long. Again, because he's getting thrown into a dumpster fire, and I just don't think he's a guy that can fix it. And it's unfortunate. Because throwing a brand new quarterback or brand new head coach into that is awful. But, yeah, the Dolphins hired him. The Dolphins, I think, are the favorite from Malik Willis. The Titans, they signed Robert Saleh. Love this. Love it. Grit. Kind of like the Mike Vrabel hire, right? And you got Brian Daboll as the OC. You've got a great defensive mind and a great offensive mind, so you can have Brian Daboll go just work with Cam Ward, right? They work together to build this roster offensively and defensively. And I think there's talent there. You're going to have to hit on a wide receiver. I think they should take Jordan Tyson. I'm going to work on a mock draft this week. I think you should take Jordan Tyson hands down because you can then pair them together and they can take off together. Because he was thrown to Elik Elimador, Chima Adike. Who the hell's that? Like, you know? So, you had that happen. I love the move. I love it. I think it's great. Now, Browns, they hired Todd Monken. It's an interesting hire. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think it's good. And again, I'm a Todd Monken lover. I just don't know where the Browns where you'd go because offensively it's so bad. You're going to have to take a quarterback next year. This year, I don't think you can take one. And I'm happy now that everyone's coming to their senses. Like, oh, Shooter wasn't that good. 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. And let's talk about this. This Pro Bowl is a damn mockery. Because how in God's green earth does he make it to the Pro Bowl? Under 60% completion percentage. A league average like 64. He was under 60. Didn't sniff it. More picks than touchdowns. That was a popularity award. That was a damn disgrace to pro football. They should axe the Pro Bowl altogether, the award, everything. Not the award. They should axe the event. And if you're selected to the Pro Bowl, you get the accolade, and we're not doing alternates. Because we are giving anybody alternate. I mean, like, Joe Flacco was an alternate. What? Who else was an alternate? Somebody where... No, Joe Burrow was... Joe Burrow played in it. And Joe Burrow missed most of the season. Like, huh? Like, again, we're just letting anybody be in the Pro Bowl. And it's a joke. It's a joke. And the fact that it's so fan-driven is like a mockery. Like, it should... The NBA All-Star Game is what I think is the best model for it. But we just don't have a game. We have the skill competition, and that's it. And if a quarterback can't participate in the skill competition, you make one of the 3 go a second time. Because, like, it's not going to kill them. They're throwing, like, 20 balls. Like, you know, it's a joke. It's a joke. But Tom Monken came straight out. Shooter Sanders is not the starter. Like, we don't have a set-in-stone starter. And I think that was good because he's not feeding into the craze of Shedeur Sanders because that will get you fired. That Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback, that will get you fired. Because of his name and because of the popularity, you're going to want to play him, and he's not good enough. So you're going to play him, and it's going to suck, and you're going to be fired. But you're going to swear up and down, and then the next guy's going to be like, Shedur's not the guy. So it's good to make that move now. Shedur's going to have to earn it. I don't think he earns it. Do I know who they'd bring in and who's going to win it? No, he may earn it just because everybody there sucks. Do I think, do I think Shedur is an NFL quarterback? Yes. Do I think he's a starter? No. I just don't think he's that good. I think he's a good backup. I think he can win you some games, right? If you're down the stretch and you need to win 3 out of a 5, 2 out of a 5, right? And I just need some halfway decent play, like Jake Browning did. I think he'd do that. But am I going to ask him to start a 17-game season and lead me to the playoffs? No, I'm not. And I'm happy Todd Monken made that move, right? Next, Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is the worst hire of the thing, Mike McCarthy. We're just putting a new face on a pig, and we're just putting a mask on a pig and saying it's not a pig. It points like a pig, it moves like a pig, shaped like a pig. It's a fucking pig. Again, they did this with the Packers, and he did this with Dallas. It's the same thing over and over again. And he's at the worst team. And now there's talks of bringing Aaron Rodgers back, and Aaron Rodgers will be 43, and he's just not that good anymore. Like they got absolutely railed by the Texans. Like, it was not good. If anything, I'm calling Aaron Rodgers saying, yeah, hang it up. Because he just didn't, like, he's a game manager, and this isn't a roster. This is a team, and I know the owners don't want to do this, right? And listen, we didn't talk about the Mike Tomlin stepping down. Mike Tomlin had to. There was too much noise. Too much noise. And, you can't suck with Mike Tomlin, and you don't have anything, you're not doing well enough in your scouting department to get the guys to win. So, he steps down. Cool. He'll be back in 2 years. If he doesn't, potentially. So, we have that, and you bring in Mike McCarthy. You significantly downgrade it. And of course you're going to. I give him 2 years, and he's gone. Because at some point, and the owners don't want to rebuild, at some point you're going to have to come to terms with it. You've got to rebuild. This being in purgatory, 9-8, 8-9, sitting in the middle of the pack, ask the Sacramento Kings how that's going. Ask the Miami Dolphins how that's going. Ask the Arizona Cardinals how that's gone. It's not gone well. It's time to blow it up. Let Cam Hayward go. Trade TJ Watt. Get 3 first. Trade DJ Metcalf. Get a first-round pick. Trade Darnell Washington. Get a second. Trade your offensive, keep the offensive line, of course. Trade Jalen Warren. Get a 5th. Trade Kenneth Walker. Get a 7th. Trade Jalen Ramsey. Get a 3rd. And how would you get a 5th? Trade these guys, recoup assets, and then you have so many hacks at it, you can rebuild in 2-3 years. But Mike McCarthy was a sign that they're not going to do that, and I think it's a joke. It's a joke. The Baltimore Ravens signed Jesse Minter. I think that's good. Jesse Minter's been talked about being a head coach for years now. And I think, again, he's not Harbaugh. But if I wanted someone to follow him up, that's the bill. I wanted another defense coordinator to follow him up, and I think Jesse Minter's a dog. Love the move for the Ravens. I don't know what they do off, from the go. And then we're going to save the Falcons ones for last. John Harbaugh went to the Giants. Love it, because that's a damn good football team when healthy. And so because they suck, they're going to have another good pick. They're going to have another hack at it. They're adding more talent. Right? You're going to have 3 really good picks from rounds 1, 2, 3. Right? Because those are that second round pick's pretty much a first. That third round pick's pretty much a second. Great value. 4th round pick, we start getting murky. I love the move. They might even trade back and get more assets, right? I love the move. They're not far off from being able to contend in the NFC East because of what's going on with the Eagles, and the Cowboys just aren't the Cowboys. That team's aging. They're not getting any younger. And John Harbaugh brings a championship mentality. Love the move, right? Love it. Love what it signals for the team. 10 out of 10. Now, Kevin Stefanski and the Falcons. Hate the hire. Hate it. Because he was in Cleveland. I said this in the last episode, and I think this is true. Kevin Stefanski is a good head coach. But he went from a place with no quarterback certainty in Cleveland, and we just again put a new mask on a new pig on the same stinking pig, and he put him in Atlanta where he doesn't have certainty in Carolina or not in Carolina in Atlanta, right? Like we don't know. Like I'm not sold on Michael Penix. Nothing this year wowed me, and we're cutting Kirk Cousins. So like, what do? Sign Malik Willis and hope and pray he turns out? Like I'm not sold on Malik Willis. Like what? Take a shot at Anthony Richardson? Like it's the same. We're just doing the same thing over and over again. And then James Pierce Jr. is now been arrested for domestic violence, fleeing from the police. The whole 9 yards. I don't think he'll ever play again in the NFL because of the things he did. I think it was an awful hire. I mean, just that simple. Now I want to talk about college football real quick before we go to the NBA trade deadline. So Indiana won the Natty. Great. 10 out of 10. Great game. Miami, the whole time in the transfer portal, was not getting a quarterback. Well, Darian Mensah re-signed with Duke. Duke builds a roster around him. Miami goes, and this is the tampering thing, and this is like, this has been going on, and this is what's wrong with college football because Ole Miss is being investigated for mad tampering, and I think Ole Miss will get it, but I don't think you can punish Ole Miss because there's no guidelines against tampering. Right, because Ole Miss's head coach sent a dead-ass a player of a blank check and said, how much you want? Texted him. And then had Jackson Dart and Trinidad Chambliss, who is not going to be playing college football next year. People have got to stop. Called him. And he left Clemson. He was enrolled in Clemson in the first week of classes and then enrolled at Ole Miss the second week. Terrible. Just a mockery of the sport. But so Miami doesn't have a quarterback. The portal closes for everybody but them. But they can't. They can only pick from the players that are in the portal, right? They can only pick, and their players can leave, right? Like they've already been added to the roster. They make Darian Mensah violate his contract and enter the portal. And Duke is suing Darian Mensah, and I think Darian Mensah will lose. Darian Mensah will have to pay all of his money back. But because Miami went to these playoffs, they had so much money. Miami, I'm pretty sure, is going to pay for all that themselves. So Duke built around Darian Mensah. Miami said, hey, here's an open check. We'll say $6 million. I think is around ballpark of what he's going to get. And then we'll pay for whatever the buyout is and all that, right? Like, we'll cover that. Just come here. Well, Darian Mensah, and rightfully said, okay. I think this is a vote on his integrity a little bit because how do you be like, no, these people stuck behind me. They brought me out of Tulane. Like, cool. We just won the ACC, though. Like, I'm running it back. No. So he goes, breaks this contract, violates this contract with Duke, and then also gets his number one receiver. Mind you, Duke's built this whole team around these two dudes, right? These two guys. And they both enter the portal. I don't know how it's not illegal because the portal's closed for them. I don't know. Again, this is why Pandora's box open. We have no guardrails. Nick Saban needs to be the commissioner, and we need to have a month-long meeting process where everybody's in hotels, away from their families, shatty as it is, and we've got to fix this because this is a problem, not just for college football, all sports. Because we've got the shat storm that's going on in college basketball, which Charles Bediako's just now been ruled ineligible. Thank goodness. I don't know. Charlie Baker just made his first appearance in a month. That guy's a disgrace to the NCAA. We gotta get rid of him. But so they entered the transfer portal somehow. And I think Duke at one point was like, we're not entering in your name. And then Miami was like, we'll pay you the money. Right? So Duke is going to take the money because obviously so. And so now he's transferring. Him and his number one receiver are transferring to Miami. Miami's set for next year. Miami's going to be good. Miami's fine. But what does that do for Duke? Duke doesn't have a quarterback for next year. Right? I don't know. Duke, who is Duke's quarterback? I don't even think this place. Yeah. It's Michael Appel Jr., his graduate transfer, and Dan Mahan. Freshman. Nobody. And that receiver, it's a bunch of freshmen and 2 grad transfers. Duke is going to not be good next year. And they got shafted. And if I'm the athletic director, I'm pushing all the buttons to go after Miami because that's bullshit. on what happened. And that's what's wrong with college football, is that can happen, and I don't think anything will ever happen to Miami about it. And we're watching Ole Miss just have players unenroll in the first 2 weeks of classes and re-enroll at Ole Miss. Again, so we're throwing out the student-athlete thing, where it's student first, right? Because I'm in all these classes where one of my professors is a former athletic director, and she's talking about how that's supposed to be first. We're throwing that out because, again, school doesn't matter at this point because we're paying them all this money, so they don't need to go to school, right? Because, we're trusting these kids with bukus of money without giving them the proper information to deal with it, how to invest. Right, so they're re-enrolling, and they're behind now, but, it's just stupid. It's really stupid, and it's awful. We've got to have a fix, and I don't think we'll have a fix till closer to 2030, which is crazy that's 4 years away. But, okay, now, to the NBA trade deadline. This episode's being recorded on Tuesday. It'll come out Thursday. And we got to get through this in about 17 minutes. Because I need to eat. I'm hungry. So, this is going to be weird because the Hornets and the Bulls were doing some, shenanigans. So, we're going to see players jump around. But we're going to start off, right? We're going to start off with Tyus Jones got traded to Dallas. They get a backup point guard, Malachi Branham, who has now been waived by Charlotte. They're going to talk about that. Pacers added Ivica Zubac to this for Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, and 2 first-round picks. It's an interesting move. The Clippers opened up some space. They got a lot of young guys and opened up some roster spots to promote, like Jam Miller and Kobe Sanders, 2 guys who are on 2-way deals who are balling right now, so need to be on standard contracts. And then they get Benedict Mathurin, who I'm still high on. I think he'd be a great 2-way wing. And then Isaiah Jackson, he's a good backup, center. I think Zubac has been in LA for his whole career. He was with the Lakers and got traded to the Clippers, so he hasn't moved. I think he just had a kid. The first round pick that the Pacers gave, this is a gamble for the Pacers and the Clippers. Either way, somebody's going to be pissed. If the pick lands, the pick is oddly protected. If the pick lands 1 through 4, I think, or 1 through 5, it goes to the Pacers, and then 10 through 30 goes to the Pacers. If it lands 5 or 6 through 9, that's a Clippers pick. And you look at the Pacers, and the Pacers are either we need to suck to get to that top point, which, if I'm the Pacers, I'm doing because this is a loaded draft class, or we need to start winning, which getting Ivica Zubac is going to kind of signal, because you haven't had a good center all year. Ivica Zubac signals you're trying to win to get into the 10 so you don't lose that pick. But if you somehow don't get it right and get stuck, the Clippers have a top 10 first-round pick. Oh, and they still have Kawhi. Now, they did get rid of James Harden. We'll talk that in a minute. And then for the Clippers, you get Benedict Mathurin. Again, I'm huge on. And you got another first-round pick in some multiple seconds. And I think everyone hates on second-round picks, but we're seeing, Danis Jenkins was undrafted. And there's 2-3 second-round picks a year. They were on 2-way deals who ended up getting converted. The Clippers have 2. And then there's a handful, there's 2 or 3 other second-round picks who somehow don't need to be on a 2-way deal because they're so good. And then break the season in the rotation and end up being average starters or good rotational players. So I think we don't need it. I think accumulating a lot of second-round picks is good because you have hacks. Right? Look at Charlotte, right? Musa Badabite, they brought on, they acquired him through free agency, but Ryan Kalkbrenner, early second-round pick, and then Zion James, mid to late second-round pick. They hit on him. But, just keep scrolling because there's so much happened. The Knicks added Jose Alvarado. He's from the New York area. They lost Miles McBride for 2-3 months. I think maybe 6 to 8 weeks. So they needed a backup point guard, and they got a dog. He's great defensively. I don't think he's as good as offensively as Miles McBride. Miles McBride's shockingly good offensively, but you get the patch of it, and I like the move for the Knicks. The Suns, there's a weird three-way trade. We're not going to talk about it because that really does not make much. Cole Anthony's in Phoenix, but he just got waived. Amir Coffey's in Phoenix. Chicago got Nick Richards, who's been balling now that he's able to play. And Milwaukee got Ajmi Dang, who I think is great young. If Giannis ends up getting traded, we'll talk about it at the end. Giannis ends up getting traded. You've got an exciting power forward. Again, he hasn't played much, but there's a lot of like upside tools. You look at everything, you're like, wow, on him. And then you got Nickel Hayes Davis, who was supposed to be good and has not played much this year. Another big one, Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips goes to Minnesota. Love the move for Minnesota. They needed a backup point guard. Rob Dillingham just hasn't developed. And the Bulls attempt to acquire as many point guards and just guards as possible. They acquire Rob Dillingham. And I like it for Rob Dillingham because he can just kind of play free, right? Like, you're not trying to contend. You're just trying to ball. You're just trying to hoop. And you can learn, maybe show that you're a dog. Chicago doesn't re-sign you, and you get a deal, and you can be a Bones Highland, but better. Right, and he just played with Bones Highland. But it's a fresh start for him, fresh breath of fresh air. Now that he's not in Minnesota, he doesn't have that pressure anymore. I'm really happy for him. Ayo Dosunmu, really good defensively, hitting like 45% of his three, so you're able to stretch the floor with him. Slasher, really good. I think, honestly, if they were to make a move for Giannis, and you had to give up Julius Randle or Jaden McDaniels, you bring back Ayo Dosunmu and you can just kick Ant to the 3. Or Dante to the 3 and have Dante, because like this shot where Dante's having to play point guard is just stupid, right? Like this is, but you're having to do what you do because you're putting your best 5 players out there, and Ant has some playmaking, and so does Julius Randle, and Dante has some playmaking. But I mean, they didn't give up much from Rob Dillingham, Leonard Miller. It's a shame to see Leonard Miller go because they've been working on him for years, and he's starting to show like back into the rotation, which, again, second-round pick, or he was undrafted. It's what you want to see. And then 4 future seconds. A big trade. The Warriors traded Kuminga to the Hawks. Finally, he was traded. I love the move for the Hawks. They also got Buddy Hield. This is a very athletic, explosive lineup. Shooting's going to be hit or miss. That's why you bring in Buddy Hield, right? And you have Corey Kispert, which made Luke Kennard expendable, so they traded Luke Kennard. And they got rid of Kristaps Porzingis because Onyeka Okongwu has shown that he's supposed to be, and we'll talk about the KP side of this. Onyeka Okongwu can be the starting center of the future, and you have Asa Newell, who looks good. Christian Koloko has looked like a good second to third center. You have Mohamed Gaye, who looks solid. They brought in Jock Liddell, who blew up on his first game there. Fantastic. But this adds, you're going to look at, we're having a lineup here of Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Walker-Alexander, Jonathan Kuminga, because I put him over Rishashe, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. The fast break is going to, in the defense, just the length, the size, the athleticism, and in the fast break, it's going to be elite. And then you sprinkle in a Buddy Hield for Dyson occasionally, like Kispert for, Jonathan Kuminga, CJ McCollum for Naw, just interchanging them, and you've got shooting. You've got elite shooting and just good offense. I love this move. Do I think the Hawks are going to contend for the top of the East? No. Do I think they can comfortably make the playoffs? Yes, hopefully. Some shit's happening in Charlotte where the Hornets are cracked, and the Hornets are about to be 500, and the Hornets are probably going to be the 5th seed in the East because some teams in the East are about to suck. But for the Warriors, I think this was just a clean slate, right? Because KP's on a free deal, like a expiring deal, right? So you'll have more money next year to spend on somebody. He has pots, and this isn't his fault, but he can barely play. So he's only played 17 games. Now, I'll bet in 17 games, he scored 17 points. Good. And they get the size and shooting they've always needed at center for literally over a decade and a half now that they've wanted since Andrew Bogut left. But he's got pots, and he can't stay healthy. And that's, again, not his fault, not to shout on anybody with pots, but in this situation, we don't know how it's going to, if KP came out, retired because he got diagnosed with it late last season, he's tried playing with pots, it just doesn't work, it's a serious thing, no one's going to, shout on him, because that's scary stuff. And you've got to take care of you. I'm happy on the Hawks end. I don't know what the Warriors are doing, but that is what it is. The Knicks sent Gershon Yabusele to Chicago, and Gershon, there was talks of him potentially going back overseas. I think he's a good player. In 3 out of the 4 games he's played for Chicago, last night he did not play well. He's balled out, and it's hysterical because it's the Knicks, and the Knicks are fringe and blowing it up because they shipped all this stuff off, and the window's starting to close, right? Cat's not happy. It's a weirdly built team. They should have stuck with the power of friendships and Dante DiVincenzo because that it was just cohesive. Because most of these guys played college ball together, so it was just this flow state of them just not having to, they just knew. And you throw Cat in there, and Cat's Cat, and it's just not gonna work. Is it unfortunate? Yeah. But it's just how it goes. The Raptors finally acquired a center, and I think he's a very solid center in Tracy Jackson-Davis. He had a double-double in his first game with Toronto. Lonzo Ball got traded to Utah. He got cut, and in that, because of the Jaren Jackson trade and Jock Liddell going with Jaren Jackson to Utah, we'll talk about that in a second. Jock Liddell went to the Hawks. We've got our replacement in KP, and Jock Liddell's a unit. He's not amazing, but he's good and he's healthy. I can rely on him, and he's a vet. At one point, he was the lowest rated NBA player on 2K. And that's how I know Jock Liddell, and he has steadily made himself. I think he's an 80 overall center. Dude's been, and the reason why I bring up 2K is because he was that would have been him being rated as the worst player in the NBA, and now he's a good start, a decent starter, good backup center, really good backup center. People want Jock Liddell. I think we had Jock Liddell for 5 minutes an offseason or two ago, and then we traded him. So he's back. I think he was in Phoenix, and we had him for 3 seconds. So he's back in Atlanta. Happy to have him. Love him there. He's balled out. CP3 got traded to Toronto and then got waived, which I find is hysterical because I didn't know he was still in the NBA. I thought he had retired. Derek White went to the Hornets, and they also got Mike Conley. They waived Mike Conley. Mike Conley's going to go back to Minnesota. I don't understand this move by Charlotte because Colin Sexton was cooking. I guess you wanted a longer deal and Kobe White and a little bit younger, higher upside to be your sixth man. That literally was you're just getting an even cracked out sixth man. I feel like it's a miscast. Holy moly, the wind is bad out here. Again, Chicago acquiring. Whoo, we're just gonna let the hair suck. Chicago acquiring as many point guards as possible, and it being a weirdly built roster. So, and then Kobe White, it was weird that they moved off of him now, and they got 3 second-round picks. That's all. And Colin Sexton. And Colin Sexton's nice. Good bench guard. I don't know what the hell's cooking in Charlotte. And we're going to talk about what is going on in Washington. But Charlotte's good. They got rid of Mason Plumlee, so they can Musa Badabite and Ryan Kalkbrenner. You can justify them starting and getting a lot of playing time. Both are great centers, just old school centers. But that's literally all you need. I'd love to see what Liam McNeely's doing. One of their first round picks, who's supposed to be the power forward of the future. And then they have Saloon, who's also supposed to be the power forward of the future. So you have two power forwards. You hope that pan out because Miles Bridges. If I were the Hornets this offseason, I'd sell on Miles Bridges and then sign somebody to a 1-year deal and have them start at the 4 and then just let those guys come up. But I love the move for Charlotte. Hate the move for Chicago because I feel like Chicago could have got more. In a just sneaky trade, OKC got, I think, the Rockets pick in this trade. They traded Jerry McCain to OKC. Philly did. They needed a backup point guard. They needed more, just a scoring burst, and Jerry McCain's there. I don't know, but again, my knock on Jerry McCain, this is going to be quick, is I don't think he's all that locked in basketball. He's got other things going on, and it is what it is. And I'm not gonna talk about that. But I don't know if his main focus is basketball. And if it's not, this is his last stop. OKC will give him a shot. And then if he can't survive in OKC with what they've got cooking there, he'll probably get signed a 1-year deal, suck there, and move on. Right? Unfortunately, if he balls out here, he'll probably be able to make a bag when he leaves. And for Philly, they had to clear up roster space for Dominic Barlow and Jabari Walker, and they did to promote those two. Now, this was there's 3 big trades that we'll talk about. 4. Yeah. and then we'll kind of just cut the episode. So, the Washington Wizards added Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum, 4, Chris Middleton, A.J. Johnson, Tyus Jones, Marvin Bagley, 2 future firsts who are heavily protected and they're going to be late first, and 3 second-round picks. I don't know what the shit is going on in Washington, but you've got Trae Young, Trey Johnson, Billy Colomby, Keyshawn George, and Alexander Sarr, and you have Anthony Davis now. And Anthony Davis said he's not going to play, and this is because Anthony Davis wants to win championships now. And if I'm Anthony Davis, I say give us 3 years and we'll have to be competing in the East, because what in God's green earth, why are we letting Washington to do this? Washington has now accelerated the timeline, and they didn't really give up anything. Oh, and they have Bub Carrington as well, one of the Champagne brothers. I really like what Washington's cooking here. For Dallas, they just sold, and they just got a lot of players. Chris Middleton's on an expiring deal, so you free up a lot of money. They traded Tyus Jones, or no, they acquired Tyus Jones. You needed a point guard to kind of help Cooper Flagg. A.J. Johnson, an exciting point guard / wing. He balled out last year in the second half of the season with Washington. I think he'll ball out again this year with Dallas. He's athletic, explosive. I love it putting him with Cooper. Marvin Bagley's a big that they need because they're kind of short on bigs. Will they ever get rid of Drake Powell in Dallas? No. Why? Don't know. But that brother is just not that good. Are we getting hit by a hurricane right now? Holy cow. But Dallas, I mean, and this is this was them admitting the loss on the Luka trade. And it is what it is. It sucks. If I'm a Dallas fan, I'm thinking, gosh, we're stuck here for like 3 more years. Cooper Flagg's balling, though. Cooper Flagg looks insane. So if I'm a Dallas fan as well, I love what I see from Cooper. But on to the next, because I'm running low on time. Harden traded to the Cavs for Garland. This was talks for a while. Garland and Mitchell butting heads. They did butt heads. Garland now got shut out. Harden somehow unhappy again. Which, if I'm Cleveland, this is we win the championship this year, or we don't win it at all, because Harden, when he becomes a free agent, is not returning to Cleveland. There's no way in the world he returns to Cleveland. So, and again, LA gets a younger point guard. You just build youth. I don't like the move for Cleveland at all. I love it for the Clippers. Don't like the move for Cleveland. The Bulls dealt, again, acquiring another point guard, Anthony Simons for Nikola Vucevic. I don't like the deal for either team. And here's why. You added a lot of money as Boston. Yes, you cleared some money. And I think Vucevic just has a year or 2 left on his deal. And you're kind of like just there, so you kind of want to contend just for Boston. But, like, this isn't a long-term move, which is, like, stupid that you pulled this trigger, because Anthony Simons was your long-term backup point guard or 6-man with Payne Pritchard that could just light it up, right? And no, Payne Pritchard would be starting at the 1. So you light it up with Anthony Simons. You had a great 6-man of the year contender year after year. You trained for Vucevic, which you could have just gotten a center in the draft. And because elite 6-men don't just grow on trees, and you had him in Anthony Simons, and now Anthony Simons is going to lose competing for the 6-man of the year award because Chicago is going to start him, because Chicago, I don't know what's going on up there. I just don't like the move for Boston. I don't know, Neemias Quinta and Luka Garza, they were good, but again, this isn't a year where at Boston you were looking to contend, and I don't get the move. The Pistons added Kevin Huerter. They traded Jaden Ivey to, guess where? Chicago. Chicago, like, has 8 guards now. And then the last big deal, we'll go to the other 3-team trade. Cleveland acquired Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. I love it. Chicago, and then Sacramento acquired DeAndre Hunter. Cleveland got off DeAndre Hunter because Jalen Tyson has been going stupid, and DeAndre Hunter's just not as good as what once we once thought. Injuries have kind of zapped him of his career. He's a good 14-point-per-game scorer, not that good defensively. He's more of a 4th option, and he's kind of overpaid as Shat. Again, for Sacramento, you added a long-term deal on, and I don't know what you're doing in Sacramento. Love the move for Cleveland because Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder kind of give you the guard depth that you needed, because Sam Merrill's been good. Lonzo Ball sucked. I think Ty Jerome's on that team. Ty Jerome hasn't really played. Ty Jerome's either there in Memphis. So you kind of just needed to figure it out. Tyrese Proctor has not turned out to be that great of a backup point guard yet. He will be, I believe, but not yet. So I love the move for Cleveland. Don't know what Sacramento's doing, and then Chicago just acquired 2 second-round picks. And Dario Saric, who they cut, or I think they traded. Now for the last big deal, and this is huge. Memphis signaled blowing it up, right? And I talked about this, how this was coming, right? Like it was on the move. This was going to happen. They traded Jaren Jackson Jr., Jock Liddell, who's now at Atlanta, John Conchar, and Vince Williams to Utah. And we'll talk about what Utah's doing in a second. We've got like 4 minutes. And Memphis acquired Walter Clayton, Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Georges Niang, and 3 future first-round picks. Love the 3 picks. Georges Niang, all right. Taylor Hendricks could be your power forward of the future. Kyle Anderson, been in Memphis, whatever. And then Walter Clayton, if you trade Ja, might be your point guard of the future, or you believe in Scottie Pippen. Or Cam Spencer, right? Or the combo both. I love the move for Memphis. Memphis, had to. I think we saw it coming. And Ja sucked, and they didn't even trade Ja. They had to rebuild. It was time. They weren't going anywhere. They were only getting worse, and this roster was expensive. You might as well trade now and recoup all of the assets you can. If I was them, I would have traded Ja. I don't know if you can trade Ja. I don't know who wants Ja for for picks. For Utah, I hate what Utah's doing just based off this. Utah is actively still trying to tank. Like they were up by 7 or 14 the other day on Orlando. Pull all their starters, Jaren Jackson, Lauri Markkanen, Keontae George, someone else, off, and they end up losing by 7. They actively tanking and obviously tanking. And if I'm the NBA, because the NBA has actively said they hated this, I'm trying to go after them some way, somehow. Just can't do that. All right. But long term, because if they get AJ Dispenza, this team's stupid, right? This team is stupid because Isaiah Collier can start at the 1, Keontae George is at the 2. At the 3 is AJ Dispenza, 4 is Lauri Markkanen, and 5 is Jaren Jackson. And you're fixed. But right now, again, love the deal for Memphis. Utah, love it. Don't like how they're handling it afterwards. But that's it for today. Ran out of time. Want to talk about Meshack and stuff like that. They got a point guard that was playing backup center for Memphis. Really cool story. And the Giannis thing and Ja. But I've ran out of time. I got things to do. So, I'll see you next time I record an episode.